Good evening. My name is Evan, and today I will be presenting my critical assignment. So this portion is the health and movement assessment. The tool that was assessed is for this client in the health and movement was the FMS tool. I'm just gonna look at my notes. So prior to using the FMS tool, a PAR-Q questionnaire was used in order to obtain any and all health information from the client that was needed in order to get a clear understanding of the client's health, as well as if there are any restrictions prior to performing the exercises that will be taking place, as well as the different tools that will be administered to the client, which indicated that there were no health concerns and that such. So the FMS tool is a tool that assists in the ability to perform full range of motion in the body in movements like the deep squat, the hurdle step, inline lunge, shoulder mobility, active straight leg raise, trunk stability, push up, and the rotary stability. There are others that were also implemented for this. So the scoring for the FMS tool ranged from 0 to 3, 0 being that the client was unable to perform the any portion of the test. 1 being the subject is unable to complete the movement or assume the position to perform the movement. 2 being the subject is able to complete the movement but must compensate in some way. And then 3 being the subject performs the movement correctly without any compensation. The faults that were discovered while using this tool was that compensation was either used or just wasn't able to the exercise was not able to be performed fully. You can see the recorded score for a lot of these movements on the image on the side, where there were challenges and where there were not challenges. There were more challenges than there were the lack of challenges, just because of it being the beginning of this person's process of taking better care of themselves and taking their health a little bit more seriously. So with all of that information that we know, putting together a plan that emphasizes a lot of those challenging movements and isolating those muscle groups that were needed for those challenging movements, and putting together a plan that not only focused on the goals of the client, but as well as improve the range of motion in those areas that are necessary for everyday life. So we can see the goals of the client here. So in our periodization, the training goal ultimately was to increase in muscular hypertrophy, perform less repetitions, and increasing in loads. The client has a desire to increase in muscle toning by December 2024. Our client is a beginner, and with the desire to muscle tone, an upper body, lower body split was desired. We did incorporate a warm-up with its evidence in improving in performance, with there being increased blood flow for the muscles that are active during the warm-up, as well as there being a lower risk of injury in the muscle tendons, as well as a reduced heavy load on the heart, which occurs in a lot of high intensity exercises that are started all of a sudden. So because this beginner is starting their fitness life journey, we chose warm-ups from both dynamic stretching as well as static stretching. It is indicated that there is an improvement in performance when implementing both of these stretches at the same time. implementing one or the other can provide improvement, but not longevity improvement that would be desired for the client. So being able to have those dynamic stretches as well as those static stretches. Dynamic stretches are more motion based, and static are more in one position, either standing, sitting, or laying down. So for the reps for the static stretching, it's going to be different from the dynamic just because they are stationary for those static stretches. So you have to go based off of a time limit. So how long do you want to stay in that stretch in order to get that full stretch, that full range of motion prior to performing that exercise? So we also have a 4-day upper lower body split. We have 2 rest days that are indicated for this. So you get to pick however you want to vary it out. So you can have 2 days on a workout. In the middle of the week, you can have a rest day, have the last 2 days, and then finish the week off resting. So for example, Monday, Tuesday, you do day 1 and day 2. Wednesday, you take a break. Thursday, Friday, you do day 3 and day 4. And then Saturday, you can add an extra day. You can do whatever you want with those days. But because those intensities are a little bit higher and we're working with the beginner, being able to have those necessary rest days are important. And we are also not including the nutrition that is needed alongside of this. So now we're going to go into the exercise technique. We chose the front squat as well as the seated shoulder press. We did 5-pound resistance to begin with, and then we increased it with a 10-pound resistance. We are working with the beginner, so we wanted to make sure that the weight was not only comfortable but challenging when performing these exercises. Also, there are coaching cues that are utilized while the client is performing these exercises. A quick tip for both of these, the front squat, I used a chair in order to have a clear basis of where that squat should sit when they are performing that squat, because you don't want to hyper extend your back or any other muscles that are not required for that squat. And you also want to make sure that all those muscle areas are activated when doing those squats. So being able to have either a box or a chair accessible when doing a front squat can be very helpful for your beginner client. I also did a seated shoulder press just so that it is easier for me to spot my client. As you can, when you watch the video, you will see that there is a little bit of it's a little bit more challenging for my client when the resistance increased for the seated shoulder press, just because of the unfamiliarity of the movement. So being able to give those coaching cues and giving the motivation and the confidence for them to push forward to finish that set so that they can feel better about themselves and get the understanding like, hey, I can do this. Yes, it was challenging, but I can do this. So the application and faith integration. This course taught me a lot of different fundamentals that are important when prescribing an exercise plan for clients over the age of 30. This course also taught me the necessary tips on how to be an effective coach and the different cues that are helpful when coaching in order for me to be a better practitioner when going through the assessment process, periodization planning process, or the technique coaching process, would just be patience. We're working with beginners, and so they're not going to get the movements right then and there. So being able to have that patience to tell them like, hey, this is not the correct movement. This is how you can improve on it. And doing it in a way that can be helpful and not condescending. Being able to find research backing the movements that you are wanting to do with your client is also helpful. Research was my biggest help in this course, and it taught me that like there are different keys and tips on performing those movements at the best way possible. The 3 verses that I chose were Romans 8:29, 2 Corinthians 3:18, and 1 Peter 15-16. These all emphasize how to move in Christ-likeness, and just understanding that you are created in God's image, and being able to know that anything that you do is desired in the transformation to be moved into and changed and transformed into the image of God, and who he's called you to be on this earth for as long as you're on this earth. The different patterns that are indicated, that you can see how Christ interacts with people and addresses their health concerns, physically as well as spiritually. Just being able to build the confidence for the client, and just really being there for the person fully, and knowing that there may be health concerns and injury concerns, and knowing that we're only trying to push them in the right direction. God shows us to move with compassion and move with patience, and be wise in our actions. So being able to be wise in those actions and helping our clients as practitioners can be helpful in just fully understanding our client and the desires that they have for themselves. Like all of our desires are not the same. So being able to understand the differences that are shown can be very helpful, as well as just like rebuilding confidence if there is a lacking there, can be helpful to the client. And as the practitioner, you are a listening ear and someone who can be very helpful to that person. So as a practitioner, finding those patterns and breaking those patterns is not only something of a practitioner, but also people as children of God, understanding the different challenges that and patterns that are indicated in our lives, and being able to radically change and transform those, and making our lives better mentally, physically, and spiritually, because they're at the end of the day all connected. These are my references, and I hope you were able to learn something from this video. I hope you were able to understand my stance on just health and the assessment, and the exercises that were chosen, and the reasonings behind it, the reasoning behind my warm-ups, the reasoning behind why we should be moving in Christ-like as practitioners. And I hope you guys have a blessed day and a great week.